Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hi, I'm Rose Davidson from Talking with the Experts. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Global Glamping Charities for their valued support. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Talking with the Experts.
In episode 437, Samantha Hallburn discusses with us how we can take control of our businesses so it doesn't take control of us.
Sure. Well, first of all, since you don't have to physically do data entry anymore, it's going to save you masses of time in keeping your records. It's going to produce financials for you, being that it was done properly, entered properly, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But if you put quality work into it, you're going to have such an easy time at tax season coming up with your financials. When you go to get your loans and your lines of credits, it's going to be as simple as running a report and handing it over. You'll be able to make pivots in your business that are beneficial to you because you can see your numbers, you can see your trends, you can understand where you need to cut back, where you need to sell more, where you need to just cut things out altogether. And then you can make those business pivots that are the things that make your business thrive and are, go stronger and stronger. But you've got to.
Talking with the Experts.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Samantha Hallburn, or Hallburn, I should say,
Yes.
probably more to the
Yep.
point. And Samantha is the founder and CEO of an accounting firm, as well as a consulting firm and a national QuickBooks online educator. She is passionate about giving back to the business and accounting communities and loves helping others to succeed. And Samantha's going to join me today and discuss with us taking control of our business so it doesn't take control of us. And Samantha is passionate about helping business owners through burnout and extreme stress, but gives them the tools that she wished that she had when she first started her journey. Welcome, Samantha. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what made you do what you're doing at the moment?
Well, my bookkeeping company started out of sort of a side hustle that I had going. I was working in lending and banking, and excuse me, when people were coming to me for loans and lines of credits and mortgages and things, they needed to produce their financials, and they didn't know how. They didn't even really know what that meant in a lot of cases. So I started helping them through that process, just kind of like a favor, so to speak. And over time, they would ask me, hey, can you keep helping me with this? Can you do more? Can I pay for you to actually do this for me? So it became sort of a side hustle in that respect. And then eventually I had one of those moments as an employee where I was like, I am done with this for personal reasons. And I turned in my 30-day notice and rolled the dice and decided, you know what, I would much rather be doing what I was doing, helping these businesses than, what I'm doing in my job today. So I started it, and that has led down the road 8 years later, fast forward, led me into the education piece where I'm now a speaker and I'm traveling and helping businesses across the country understand and learn QuickBooks Online, and as well as now bringing masterminds and retreats and things to the accounting professionals as well as all small businesses. So it's just evolved over time, but it all started out with the desire to help people, which is still the thing.
Yeah, I love QuickBooks. I actually got it last year, and I think it's improved heaps. I remember buying
Oh,
QuickBooks when it first came out back in the dark ages, and yeah,
yes.
and
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely love it now. It's so easy to use. Interface is just so good. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. We feel the same.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's easy to use than the major competition. You don't have to put things so much and think of numbers and well, unless that's changed. But yeah, you used to have to think of categories and put numbers and things in and codes, and no, didn't like that idea. Yeah, I guess so. How can we financially take control of our business so it's not taking control of us?
Well, first and foremost, pricing appropriately. I think one of the biggest challenges a new business has, whether it's bookkeeping or manufacturing or retail, is how do I charge? How do I price? Some things are very set, like you want to charge 3 times your cost on something. Great, no problem. That's more of the retail environment, product environment. In the service industry, it can be regional. So in some areas, you may be able to charge this much of money, this much a month. And in other areas, you can't. You can only charge this much a month. So you've got to really figure out kind of what the market will bear in your area for what you are doing. That just takes research, asking around, joining different forums and groups that you can get that insight. But then also understanding that eventually you're going to need a team. If you're doing this as a one-man band to start, that's not going to last long. You can only do so much as one person and have quality at the same time. So you want to price as though you have a team working for you so that by the time you get to that point, you're not losing all kinds of money, or you don't have to make gigantic leaps in your pricing to pass that on to your customers in order to support your team. So number one, price appropriately, do your research and due diligence of what is acceptable in your area. And then also price as if you have a team or at least someone on a team for you before you need them, so that when you get them, you can afford them.
Yeah, it's cost, isn't it, about being able to, bring on team members. It sometimes you think you can afford it, and then all of a sudden, you're having a bad month or a bad couple of months, and then you can't afford that person. And that makes it a little bit challenging because you don't want to get rid of the person, but you don't want to, you can't afford to pay them. So how do we move on from that?
So great question. I didn't do this for a long time. And one of the lessons I learned was through basically trial and error is that your employee, when you hire them, should be making you 3 to 10 times what you're paying them by either taking stuff off your plate that allows you then to go do more revenue generating activities, actually brings business with them. So maybe they have customers or client base that they would bring on board with them. Or if they're in a sales position, they go out and find more business for you in their position, equal to 3 to 10 times their salary. Or just saving you the time that you were spending doing all these menial tasks that you were giving away and not doing the things that actually could be making you more money. So depending on their role, you've got to determine, and you should start by determining, how does this role bring me 3 to 10 times what the expected salary would be? And don't hire until you have that figured out. So you want to, line out the tasks and understand how that's helping you. Is it taking something off your plate? Is it allowing you to have more time for your own things? Is it them bringing money in? Is it them going and finding more business? And then you hire, and then you really shouldn't have to worry about it.
Good point. Good. Actually, don't put the cart before the horse. So don't go hiring people until you can afford it. And that I guess that would be the main issue. Even if you don't like doing a task, don't outsource until you've got the money to do so.
Right. And as you're doing your tasks every day, you can be thinking forward. Is this something I want to be doing with my time? No. So this goes over in a delegate box. And then eventually you're building roles that you don't even realize by delegating those tasks out. And then you can create a role around it. Now you realize the time it's taken off your plate, and you can understand what it's going to then make you for you to be able to go out and do what you want to do.
Absolutely, yeah. But how I guess a lot of people, we've discussed about outsourcing. However, they're a bit loath to outsource anything because I think they can do it bigger and better. Now,
Yeah, well, I'm a fan of outsourcing, for what certain parts of the business, it can be a very profitable way to do things for sure. That's definitely something to consider. One of the ways to consider hiring is by outsourcing for sure.
yeah, I think so. And a lot of virtual assistants don't cost the earth. You just
Right.
need. The trouble is, it's difficult to find someone that you can work with that will do what you ask them to do and not um, either slack off or try to take over the business. So,
Yeah.
that
Yes, I've
hiring,
had both. I've had both.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I've worked
you
with,
never know who you're going to get, whether it's virtual or in person employees or in an office environment. It is one of the challenges of having employees, unfortunately. But making sure you understand your culture, making sure you're hiring the right fits. And the only way you can do that is if you understand what that fit actually is, and then you hire against it. I think a lot of new businesses or businesses that are just starting to hire don't go through the full vetting process. They kind of go, oh, I need help because I've waited too long. And now this person says they can do this job, and fine, I'll hire them.
mm,
And that's not really the way you want to do it.
no, it isn't. And I think you've got to be quite firm in what you require and have everything written down, step by step, how the tasks are
Mhm.
supposed to be handled. I think that's probably the best way to go. And then there's no miscommunication or
Right. And
misunderstandings. Yeah,
exactly. You brought up a great point. Document everything. Write down all your processes, all your procedures. Be proactive in that, because once you start to hire, you've got to be duplicatable. Otherwise, it's still all in your head. And now you have to teach people on top of doing your work and on top of making sure they're doing theirs. So if you put SOPs, which are standing operating procedures, in place for yourself and you document everything, it's only going to be that much easier for you when you go to hire.
yeah, absolutely. I love SOPs. I think they're a wonderful initiative to I used to write them all the time. I've got a bit lazy and not done any because keep everything in my head, and then I change it slightly and I think, oh, okay, do I have to go back to the SOP? But yes, you do.
Yes,
If
you
you
do.
make a change, you must go and change it because it's vital for the
Yeah,
next person in line. Um,
right.
what do you wish you had have known before you started your first business, Samantha?
Oh, there's so many things, but I think the biggest one was you can't do it all by yourself. You can do a lot for a while as a single person, but you really can't do it all and have quality work. And I really wish I would have had a community around me to tell me, hey, you need to hire, you need to outsource, you need to do something. I just waited far, far too long. And by the time I made that decision, I was so burnt out and I was so tired and just exhausted. And, my customers were starting to not be as happy. And I was feeling just no passion anymore in what I was doing because I was just scrambling all the time to keep up. I wish I would have hired sooner, educated hired,
Yeah.
not just anybody and everybody, because I made a couple anybody hires in desperation, and that wasn't a great move. So I had to work through those processes. But that's the one thing that if I only could pick one, there's lots, but if I could only pick one, it would have been getting support sooner so that I didn't have to get to such an extreme place of burnout, fatigue, and like basically I just didn't care anymore because I was so tired. My customers didn't seem to appreciate any of the work I was doing. That's probably because they felt that I was overstretched and they felt the tension on my end of being tired. And so I wish I would have hired sooner, but now that I am in this place of having a team managed company, I would never go back. I would never go back to being a solopreneur.
Now, getting on a little bit to QuickBooks, and I've told you how much I absolutely love it, and I don't have any issues with it. But I think for people who need an online accounting software, what are the benefits of having QuickBooks?
Sure. Well, first of all, since you don't have to physically do data entry anymore, it's going to save you masses of time in keeping your records. It's going to produce financials for you, being that it was done properly, entered properly, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But if you put quality work into it, you're going to have such an easy time at tax season coming up with your financials. When you go to get your loans and your lines of credits, it's going to be as simple as running a report and handing it over. You'll be able to make pivots in your business that are beneficial to you, because you can see your numbers, you can see your trends, you can understand where you need to cut back, where you need to sell more, where you need to just cut things out altogether. And then you can make those business pivots that are the things that make your business thrive and are, go stronger and stronger. But you've got to use the data. You've got to look at it. You've got to understand it in order for it to do you any good. If you're using it as a glorified checkbook, you're not really going to get much out of it other than maybe tax time, having the reports. But if you're really understanding what you're looking at, taking the time to meet with your accounting professional, and hopefully you have one that's willing to work with you and sit down with you and go over things with you and teach you, because some of them aren't willing to do that. Unfortunately, they're just too burdened with doing the, dailies that they don't take the time to educate. But if you have someone who does take that time, it's such a great partnership to have for a business.
I agree. I mean, I love the way that the fact that you can integrate your bank accounts with QuickBooks, because every time there's a deposit or a withdrawal, it automatically processes in the software, and so it just makes life so much more simple.
Yeah, it can make your life very simple once you get to know it, once you understand it. And just like anything new, there's going to be a learning curve. And one of the reasons I started my consulting firm was, you can download software all day long, but that doesn't mean you know how to use it. So there is no real QuickBooks training or tutorial. You can YouTube, you can Google, but that doesn't allow you that one-on-one, hey, what does this mean? You can't ask YouTube a question back. You can just watch it and hope you figure it out. But that's why I was like, there needs to be more education available out there for users. So
yeah, I think that's the only downfall of QuickBooks is the tutorials aren't great. And
right.
Yeah, and that is a big thing that they really need to improve, because a lot of people like to self-teach and
yes,
can't afford to go to a consultant to do the training or do whatever it's required. And
right.
Yeah, so because I had an issue last year with actually closing my books off. I mean, I did all the balancing and everything. So maybe you might share how you actually close the books off so you can start a new financial year.
Sure. So there's actually a lot that goes into an end of the year close. And we do have a resource page that I would be happy to share with the listeners if they want to email or write in for it. But mainly you have to reconcile every single account on the balance sheet. So you don't reconcile the profit and loss, you reconcile the balance sheet. Once everything's reconciled, that means you verified that there's nothing left in QuickBooks that isn't on the statements, and there's nothing missing from the statements that isn't in QuickBooks. All the numbers match at the end of the year. That's the main ticket, because now you've understood that you're not missing anything, nothing's duplicated, all the numbers are in line. And most people think reconcile just your checking and maybe your savings and credit cards, but it's really every single account on the balance sheet. Liabilities, assets, loans, which is a liability, credit cards, mortgages, cars, whatever is out there on your balance sheet. Payroll is another one, especially if you have deductions like child support and things that are going in and out all year long. Once that's done, other than verifying that the categorization is correct on the profit and loss, you're pretty much done. Now, there's always going to be tax adjustments from a tax standpoint. So understanding that your profit and loss does not equal exactly your tax return is another huge thing for business owners. There's going to be a depreciation they have to enter. There may be distributions. There might be K1s. There's going to be other parts. Mileage is another write-off that you don't actually put on the books. there's going to be stuff outside the books, but for the most part, as long as you reconcile every account on the balance sheet and verify categorization on the profit and loss, you should be good to go.
Sounds interesting. I was searching and searching and searching forever to find out how to actually close the book, because you used to actually close the book and then start a new one, but you don't need to do that anymore. And I was really surprised. I just thought, oh, okay, as long as you reconcile to the end of the financial year, it automatically just restarts a new financial year for you. And
it does.
There's nothing to say that it does that. And I was searching for hours and I thought, oh, I'm just going to leave it. But yeah, it worked out for itself. So I was really pleased. But the point being is that, as I said, the tutorials are really bad and the help in there is not great. So
that's why we're here.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Samantha, what other tips can you share about, how we can take control of our business?
Well, I think understanding your numbers is number one, and that comes from record keeping, but also having meetings with your sales team, your ops manager, understanding all the different departments, and what they need to produce in order for your big picture vision to work. What sales do you have to make? What is your payroll going to cost of the sales? How do you build in bonus structures? How do you pay for benefits? All of that has to be figured out in order for you to understand the health of your company and how you're producing against your goals. Taking control of your business, again, setting boundaries. I did not do this when I started my business. I made a very big mistake of being just available 24/7 basically to my clients. And it wasn't great because they would actually call me 24/7. And I led the expectation that I would make myself available, which I guess worked for a minute. But then it's not sustainable, and you have to have your own personal boundaries. So setting boundaries up front, following your boundaries once you set them, so your customers have a very clear expectation. Walking your clients through the customer journey, what the expectation management should be, making sure they understand what they're getting from you is huge, because a big problem in the industry of accounting is what we call scope creep, where you will engage for bookkeeping services. However, your client immediately expects you to be their CFO, even though they're only paying and asking for bookkeeping. And that's part of the boundaries of saying, well, I can do this for you, but it's going to be this much more, or that's a different package, or whichever way you're going to go about doing that. But setting boundaries and making sure your customer understands explicitly what they are getting for the price that they're paying. Again, lessons learned, hard lessons learned. I just kind of kept saying yes, yes, yes every time somebody asked me. And eventually I'm doing, CFO work and I'm getting paid as a bookkeeper. Yeah, and that wasn't a great business model. Let me just put it that way.
No, I've been there, done that. Yeah, so I
it was great for my clients who didn't have to pay the price they should have been paying, but it wasn't great for me.
Yes, and then when you ask them to pay extra, they balk at you and they say, "Well, you've been doing it till now, so
there it is."
Okay, and so you have to be very clear from the outset what it is that they're actually paying for, and if they want more, they pay more. That's the simple thing. And if they don't want to, well, then to me, they're not a very good client.
Exactly, and taking control of your business, understanding that not every client is a good fit for you, and it's okay if you don't take them on, and it's okay if you let them know this just isn't going to work because either our values don't line up or the scope of work isn't what we really do. Another thing I tried to do was do too many things. I tried to offer all these different add-ons, and I just had to narrow. I had to niche down. I had to narrow in. Do what you're good at and stick to that. Don't try to be a yes man and say yes to every ask. It's okay if you say no.
Absolutely, yes. And I've had to sack some clients because, they just kept taking and not giving anything in return. So, yes, I understand that. And that's what leads to burnout. You overwork yourself and you think, you've got to meet these client expectations when in actual fact you don't have to at all because you haven't set the boundary.
Exactly. I've done all the mistakes that you can do probably, which is why I'm passionate now about helping others avoid those mistakes, giving them the education that I didn't have. I made it work, but I could have gotten there easier and faster had I not had to go through those learning curves.
Yeah, but I think sometimes those learning curves are great because, depending on the type of business that you have, sometimes it's the hard lessons that make you a better business person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's true in life too. Some of the hardest things, the heartbreaks, the just bad days, they just teach you good lessons to take with you into your life again.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Samantha, where can people find you if they wanted to work with you or indeed just find out a bit more information about what you offer?
Sure. We have our phone number is 866-472-7669, and you can call or text that number. Our email is info@samincservices.com, and that's INC, not INK. And then we're at Instagram. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can find us at sam.inc.services.
Perfect. Yes, I encourage people to follow up with Sam. I think she offers a fabulous service, and I think you'd be well advised to at least listen to what she has to offer you.
Sure.
Sam, any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to remember you're a person. You, a business owner, are a person, and you have the right to have the life that you want to have, and you can actually design your business to give you that life if you do it correctly, and you deserve that. So don't put yourself in such a bind with your business that you miss out on the things in life that are important, because you don't get any younger, and time doesn't slow down. So make sure you remember you also.
Yes, quite often you don't get a second chance. So yes, make the most of the first chance that you have. Samantha, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us today. I've absolutely loved it. I will be talking to you again very soon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.